I would hope that you have, or you can find one person that you can be just brutally honest with, that will not be scared of your fears, that would not be scared of the things that are going on in your mind, and that they can see through them for who they know you to be, to remind you of who you are and what you are capable of.
Legacy Foundation is Lake County's community foundation. For over 30 years, we've partnered with donors and nonprofits, focusing on youth development, the arts, the environment, health, literacy, and other causes that matter to you. We're committed to Lake County forever. First Things First Porter County is dedicated to supporting families, healthy beginnings, and quality early learning, ensuring every Porter County baby is born prepared for a strong start in life. Learn more at firstthingspc.org.
I have a very strong connection to other students. Everyone makes an effort to help each other. I'll remember the feeling of being here, the feeling that I was a part of a family.
Additional support for Building Blocks is provided generously by Tom Sorlis and Sue Eleuterio, as well as Porter County Community Foundation, serving Porter County since 1996.
Building Blocks, the podcast, is a co-production of Lakeshore Public Media and First Things First Porter County. For more information on Building Blocks, including this podcast, as well as the television show, visit lakeshorepublicmedia.org/buildingblocks.
Hi, today on Building Blocks, I have the pleasure of speaking with my friend, my colleague, new mother, Hadassah Moore. We're going to be talking about the journey to motherhood, the challenges and the joys, and everything in between. Hadassah, welcome to Building Blocks.
Hi, thank you, Mary Jane.
So happy that you're here today.
Yes.
You are almost 30 months into this, and I count 30 months because you had all of that time of waiting for your little guy to arrive. This motherhood journey, take us back to the very beginning.
Well, it was June of 2022 is when we found out that we were pregnant, right at the end of June, and it was a joyfully anticipated surprise is what I say. We were ready to try, and then it was actually very easy for us to get pregnant, which I know is not a common experience, so I was very caught off guard by that because I thought it was going to take longer. And I just remember taking my test alone in my home and just sobbing on the bathroom floor because I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. It wasn't supposed to be this easy. And then my pregnancy was really just very normal, very uneventful. No morning sickness, no major Braxton Hicks. Like literally, I was remaining active. And I remember about 4 or 5 months in, my anxiety really started ramping up. So I always say that I had a physically easy pregnancy, but mentally it was very, very, very tough.
That's really hard, and I don't think you're uncommon. I don't think that's an unusual or out of the sorts experience.
Exactly. And I think looking back, it was scary because nobody had been quite that honest with me about what to expect. I had experienced some anxiety and depression before pregnancy, so I knew some hormone changes would be pretty dramatic for myself, but I was just not expecting the level of intensity with that, especially in terms of not feeling very attached to my unborn child. You hear about mothers just like reading to their kids and singing to their kids and being so excited, and I was just not feeling it. And I remember often crying with my husband, feeling so guilty because he was already so excited and felt like he already had this relationship with his child, and I just couldn't relate. And it was very, very scary to me.
And I can only imagine that must have been really stressful because I know your background. You come from a family of educators. You and I have worked together on early childhood topics. So this must have felt like a lot of pressure.
It was, because I know how important early attachment is when the baby is born. And I think I was gearing up for really doing it right. And so it was very, very scary for me. Very scary.
I think that we all as moms just want to do it right.
Yeah.
And we also know there's no one right way to do it.
Yes.
So during your pregnancy, you were seeing a healthcare provider.
Yes, I saw an excellent healthcare provider with Franciscan in Michigan City. They provided excellent care. They also have a prenatal assistance program, and so I enrolled in that, and it's open. It's not income-based, which I love because our household doesn't necessarily fall into some income brackets to qualify for things such as WIC or SNAP, but everybody needs emotional support and tangible support as well. They provided some of my physical needs. They gave me my prenatal vitamins throughout my pregnancy. They provided diapers for me. They provided my diaper bag, all sorts of things just by participating in their program. But they also provided a listening ear throughout my pregnancy. I had check-ins every 6 weeks or so with one of their counselors, I should say. And they also directed me to my birthing classes and things like that. And so they were such a help to just feel very prepared. I am somebody who loves to be prepared. And so I was taking all the resources and all the help that I could get. And I was just very, very thankful for their guidance to me through my pregnancy of things I might have been forgetting or not even realizing. And pregnancy brain is real. And so just having them remind me, like, have you found a pediatrician? And I'm like, oh, that's something you don't realize that you have to do before your baby is born. And so they were really helpful for putting me in the direction of the pediatrician that we have and that we now love.
That's fantastic. And I know, right? So one of the things that makes you so great at your job at First Things First, because we have the pleasure of working together, is that you are organized and you do anticipate needs and you do think about those things. And also as somebody who went to every single prenatal class, I have notebooks full of notes that I took. I can understand that want to just get it right, to have all the information, but there's no way you can expect the unexpected.
Certainly. And going back to my journey with my mental health during my pregnancy, I just remember the anxiety being so real, of the worry of my child's physical health, being so concerned. They tell you, count the kicks. And so I would just be paranoid. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and be unable to fall asleep until I felt my baby move. And I'd be up for sometimes an hour at a time because guess what? My baby's probably sleeping too.
You don't think about that.
And so just being so plagued by it on top of regular pregnancy insomnia is just, it was pretty rough. And then I remember coming time to give birth was very uneventful. I had some physical symptoms that I thought might have been labor, maybe not. So I called in and they said, you might as well come in. And I came in and they said, oh, sure enough, your water kind of broke a little bit. Let's just get you admitted. And I remember sitting there and looking at my husband and saying, I feel silly being an admitted hospital patient right now because I just feel so like it's another day of my life. And so I had a very normal birth experience. I got a little bit induced, had an epidural, delivered naturally. Everything was fine. And again, going back to that attachment issue, they put him on my chest and I felt nothing. And it riddled me with guilt and even more fear.
I can only imagine the terror you must have felt because you don't hear about that part of people's journey.
Exactly. I always say I wish people would have scared me a little bit. Like, it can be scary, and I don't want to scare some people away from and we'll get to this the joy that I experience now, but I just remember being so scared and not understanding just how deep the pain could be.
And the guilt and the shame that I think you're talking about that goes along with that.
Yeah, because you hear so much of the joys of motherhood, which are so, so true and so, so high, the joys, but are just coupled with the lows as well. And we hear a little bit about them. And I knew to look out for postpartum depression, and they did a screening with me in the hospital, and I almost told the nurse, you don't need to do it. I know it's coming for myself.
You had self-diagnosed that.
A little bit, and I am weary of self-diagnosis, but I remember her coming back to me very gently, and I'll never forget my postpartum nurse. She gave me so much time and did not rush me at all. She cried with me. She said, I had postpartum depression too. This is the counseling office I saw, and gave me their number.
Wow.
So I felt much more comfortable calling them when I needed to call somebody else. And so, yeah, she sat down and said, your markers came back. You look like you're probably headed that way. And I said, okay, I'm not surprised. And I laughed and started crying. And I said, I just don't know what to do.
And you were still in the hospital at that point.
Yep. That was like my first day out of discharge.
And so you and your husband, you pack up your little guy, you head home. Mm-hmm. I remember that first night. My husband thought that a vacuum cleaner would put our baby to sleep, and it doesn't. But you get home and there's no instruction manual. What do you and your husband do?
Well, leaving the hospital, we really thought feeding was going okay. I really wanted to try nursing, and so my lactation consultant was so helpful, and she gave me some tips, and everything looked good. And then we get home, and I'm struggling, and I'm thinking, okay, like we're just adjusting. My baby's hungry. He's crying. We're confused. My husband's like, just give him some formula. And I'm like, no, I really want to nurse. And so there was tension between us that we just gave him formula because he needed food like the first 2 days of his life, of course. And we kept trying to nurse, and it just was very painful for me. It was hard for him to feed. I took this breastfeeding class, and it's just seems so magical. Like your baby's born and they'll come to you and they'll just latch and it'll all be magical. And it is, they don't tell you that you are learning with your child. Like, I think I expected it to be so instinctual and like our bodies are made this way, but there is a learning curve for you and your child. And I was not expecting that. And so that also, again, amped my anxiety of, now I can't even provide physically for my child. And I'm also feeling like I can't provide emotionally for him right now. Just really feeling like, who let me do this?
Who signed you up for this, right? And on top of that, let's remember you're probably not sleeping. Little ones, they sleep a lot, but it's not in continuous sections of time.
Yeah, and my child was a sleepy eater, so he slept a lot, and we had to. Now it's like, oh, that's so great. But in the moment, I'm like paranoid because like he needs to eat. And then he'd nurse a little bit and just go right back to sleep. And so we're very worried about that. And my husband is the steadiest person that I know. And I owe so much to him. And just the way that he seemed to be fearless was just so good and needed. But also knowing that it was hard for him to see me in pain.
Yes.
And unable to experience the joys that he was experiencing. I remember one day him coming home and just oogling over our son, and I had to look at him and say, I can't do this right now. I'm sorry, I can't join you in this. And that was just really hard.
Of course that was. And let's jump ahead. Here we are. You're almost celebrating the second birthday.
Yep, in just about 2 weeks.
And so there's a happy ending to this story.
Yes. I've told you this before, but I can confidently say now that my son is the joy of my life. And if you would have told me that, I don't know how many months ago, let's say 6 months postpartum, or even 2 months postpartum, I just would not have been able to see what my life has become and what he has become and what a team my husband and I have become through everything.
For sure. And so here you are, and it's 2 months postpartum, and you've got one job, and that's to keep this little guy alive and thriving. What steps do you take? How do you and your husband navigate next steps?
So I remember looking at him one night and saying, I really need to talk to somebody. That's not you. And he said, that's a great idea.
Wow.
And so specifically, I remember one night, I think it was 8 days postpartum. I don't remember the exact day, but it was in the first 2 weeks, just having to hand my son to my husband, going upstairs and laying on the bed and just feeling nothing. And I, believe it or not, remembered there was numbers to call. Went downstairs, grabbed my little folder from my discharge nurse, and called the postpartum national support hotline for anxiety, and just got a very calm voice on the other end, just talked me down and just said, you just need to make it through tonight and we'll just do it one night at a time. And I just felt so much better. It was not a cure by any means, but just felt so much better for just that little amount of time. It let me regain myself a little bit. And that's when I decided to seek some more consistent professional help.
Sure. But in that moment, to have that resource, to be able to pick up the phone and hear a warm, non-judgmental, compassionate voice on the other end.
And I wasn't expecting answers from this person either. And they were just there to listen and to just tell me it's hard. It's very, very, very hard. And that what you're feeling is not strange, and the intensity makes sense. And so it was really comforting.
Good for you. It's so hard to ask for help.
It really is. And that's something I really struggled with also during my postpartum journey is I didn't want people to see me in the state that I was in. And so I have such an awesome network of girlfriends that are all seasoned mothers. I'm the newest mother out of all of us. And so them just really wanting to help so badly and I not doing a very good job of accepting it is truly like my biggest regret of my postpartum journey is not accepting the help that was available to me.
But in the moment, you probably couldn't see that that's what they were trying to do, right? You were plagued by and paralyzed by this fear and anxiety and depression, and it can be really scary.
Yeah, so much self-pity that is just blinds you to the people around you and the care that they have, and you have self-pity, so everything is through this lens of pity, and I felt just so unlike myself, and I felt I'm somebody that really looks to meet needs. And so it was hard for me to not have that reciprocity when folks came over, to not like be able to feed them or have them take a break. And so that was also something I really struggled with. But looking back, I learned so much, and that has helped me even now of every time I need childcare, I can call these friends and I can confidently know that they are very excited to see my son.
So having that support system and not isolating yourself, and it takes a lot of effort to do that. That must have been exhausting.
Yes, a giant learning curve for me. That's something I'm still learning to do, quite frankly.
We're here today with Hadassah Moore, my dear friend and colleague and mother to an almost 2-year-old. We're talking about the joys and the challenges and just the journey to motherhood. Hadassah, I found this quote, and it says that being a mother is learning about strengths you didn't know you had. I think you learned a lot in your journey.
Yes.
What were some of the strengths that you didn't know you had that you had to dig down deep and pull from within?
I know I'm a patient person, but the level of patience that motherhood has brought me is something that I'm pretty proud of. And that is something I can cling to a lot. I thought I knew what it meant to choose joy in a moment, but knowing that I have to be the strong person for somebody who is so weak and figuring things out is something that I really did not expect to be so strong in that. And it's been really cool to see myself stay emotionally strong and level-headed in moments where he is just being a toddler of confused emotions and the world around him. And for me to be able to stay grounded and focused for him is just something I really did not see myself being able to do. So it's really exciting.
I have to say, personally, it's been so much fun to watch you grow into motherhood. And it really is a learning curve. It doesn't come naturally, I don't think, to anybody. We have this mythology, this kind of fairy tale that we're women, so we should be excellent mothers. And it doesn't always work like that. And it does take some work, a lot of work, and constant just resetting and reframing.
Yeah, constant resetting is a great phrase for what motherhood is, especially in this phase that I'm in right now, too.
And you're in the thick of the first 1,000 days.
Yes.
So, and working with First Things First, you have this beautiful intersection between your professional life and your personal life. How have those two things played off of one another?
I think I'm very equipped for motherhood, like tangibly, and with the information that I know about the importance of the first 1,000 days and early relational health and the things that I can be doing with my child and as a family to just help nurture these neural connections that are just exploding for him right now. And to like see them happen in real time is just so exciting. My husband and I always say it's just so fun to watch him think because he is just such a thinker too. And to just see how he is becoming who he is just really exciting. And then also just like knowing about all the resources that we have that I really wouldn't have known about otherwise. So it's pretty exciting.
It's very exciting. You mentioned your husband and you talk about really he has been such a source of strength for you. How have you two navigated this new chapter in your relationship?
Yeah, we always say that you just can't do whatever you want anymore.
What?
And so just like the balance of work and home life, and there's no breaks for anybody. Like he works a full-time job and comes home and we kind of do a trade-off, and then he's on duty with my son so I can run around doing the things that I need to do that I can't do without a child. And so truly neither of us are have much of a break anymore, and that's okay. We have my husband and I are both very are very procedural, I should say, both of us. He's an engineer, so that's not surprising the way that his brain works, and I'm very strategic, I think, in the way my brain is organized. And so we're the people like, well, we hang out these 2 days a week, so after my son goes to bed, one person, whoever's putting the kid down, the other person's cleaning up, and then by the time both of those are done, we can hang out for the night. And so for us, it's like we can consistently say like, oh, on Mondays and Thursday evenings, like we have each other. And so that's been really, really good for us too. And also for me to like learn how I can like I've learned to love being alone, which I never did before motherhood. So now it's like it's really nice to have some time by myself, some physical space away from anybody else. So.
And when you think about your days that are filled with a toddler, a 2-year-old who's very busy, who's also, I just heard him recently, and he is talking in clear, multisyllabic words and sentences. How do you spend your time with your 2-year-old?
Well, we eat a lot of snacks. He would like more snacks than I give him, definitely. He loves to be outside, so that's been really fun this winter to see how much he just loves the snow. We play a lot of time outside, and he just devours books. He devours books, and so the number of times he comes up to me, "Mama, read it!" And he has favorite books right now, which is just so funny, and like to see which books he latches onto. Mm-hmm. Right now, his favorite is this. It's actually one of our Dolly Parton Imagination Library books, so it's really fun that we have it because we wouldn't have known about this book otherwise. But it's just Mother Goose nursery rhymes. And he calls it Dumpy Dumpy because he loves Humpty Dumpty.
Of course. Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know how many times I've read that. I've actually like put it away on a bookshelf because I'm tired of it.
It needs a little break.
It needs a little break, but every time we sit down in the rocking chair for nap time, he's like, Dumpy Dumpy. And I'm like, we're going to try Chicka Chicka Boom Boom today. And he's like, oh, okay. So like.
And 2-year-olds, they're pretty agreeable when you give them another option.
For the most part.
For the most part, truly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's what we do. And just. He loves trucks and tractors, and so we have lots of things with wheels in our house that are always going.
Always exploring. Mm-hmm. Hadassah, I know you had this unique experience, and our viewers, our listeners may recognize you from the Building Blocks TV show.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about what that was like to have, a production crew come into your home, film you and your little guy together, and now watching that back.
So the production experience was really not that hard. The Lakeshore team is great, and they came in, and they're just like, just do what you normally do. So we played outside, we came inside, read some books, and did some chores. My son loves to help around the house, so I'll take it while I can. Mm-hmm. And so that was really fun. But then I remember specifically at the premiere event watching it, I was not expecting the response that I had of the emotions that I had, and being able to see myself mother so confidently was just really, really very special. So it's a very treasured thing to have this for me.
I know, and for all of us to see you. So you're back at work now. You've entered the workforce. Mm-hmm. How has that transition been?
Good. I didn't think I'd be working right now, but when the right thing comes along, it was just so right. So that transition has been great. We are very fortunate with local family that provides my child care. Mm-hmm. I once a week in the office, the rest is from home, which it's continually developing my work-life balance because my son's needs are always changing. So the hours I have in the day are always changing, and the availability and his level of self-sufficiency is always changing. But it has been such a gift for me. It really helps me feel more like myself, as they say. I'm somebody who really does enjoy working, and I also now really, really love being a mom. And so I just love having the fortune to do both for so many hours. I feel like I'm at a really good balance. I'm just very fortunate for that. And it's just really exciting that, as you said, my life informs my work so much. And I think it just makes me even more passionate about the work that I'm doing, and the impact that First Things First can have on Porter County and Northwest Indiana as a whole.
I have to say, it's a real source of pride for us at First Things First to walk the walk, that we are able to bring in moms of little ones to find that work-life balance for whatever works for them. It's the job I wish I would have had as a new mom.
Yes, and people ask, well, I tell them about my work situation. I'm like, it truly is just the best. Like, I get done what I need to get done, but there is never, ever, ever a question of, sorry, my family needs me today for one reason or another. And there's like, yep, that's it. There is never I never feel guilty about it. And so that's also very helpful, because I know some moms that are working aren't necessarily in that situation either. And I have friends who are working moms that are constantly juggling, okay, well, like, I have to work to provide for my children, but my children also need me today for one reason or another. And so it's just a tension that's really hard to see. So I am thankful that we get to not have that, but it inspires me to hopefully see that change for the workforce at a greater scale.
Yeah, so that moms really can make a choice and have that work-life balance, and that everybody deserves that. Every mom deserves that. Thinking back the last 30 months, if you could go back to 5 months pregnant, 8 days postpartum, what would you tell yourself?
Everybody said, like, just you wait. It gets better. You won't believe it. And it sounds so trite, but it's so true. If you would have shown me a video of my son now when he was born, I would have been so excited. I would have been so excited to get there and to see the process along the way. And so even the whole process has just been great.
And when did you know that it was going to be okay?
I would say probably 11 to 13 months postpartum was when I really started. They say the fog begins to lift, and it made sense. I remember shortly postpartum, I was starting to doubt if I could ever do this again. My pregnancy was so easy. I'm like, I see why people have tons of kids. This is great. And then I was like, I don't know if this is healthy for me. And also feeling very scared and a little defeated when my husband, not knowing I had the internal conversation, kind of said, maybe we shouldn't do this again. And it's like, he's like, you can't do this. Like, this is not good for you to do this again. I see how you are, and I don't want that for you, which has a lot of compassion, but lots of mixed feelings. But then I remember, probably like 11 to 12 months postpartum, him looking at me being like, we can do this again. I think you can do this. And I said, I agree. Or like even having some friends around that time saying, I can tell you're doing a lot better. And to like have people unprompted telling me that is also just such a confidence boost. So
Of course.
so it takes a while. And like I was just shocked by how much hormones play a part in things. Like they always say, oh, hormones, but holy cow. Because I did exclusively pump. That's how I fed my child for 6 months. 6 months. And then weaning is a whole gamut of hormones that nobody prepares you for. And then like your body just readjusting constantly. For the first like year postpartum, there's just so much going on physiologically that I also had to keep reminding myself, which made things a little easier to know, like, okay, your body's going to readjust and your brain is going to catch up and readjust too.
Truly. So, like we've said, we live in this fairy tale world of motherhood is just all rainbows and roses and things like that. And for the most part, it is. I mean, I love being a mom. I know you love being a mom, and you're so great at it. But to our listeners out there, moms and dads, what advice would you give to them if they're maybe experiencing some of the challenges that you saw in yourself?
I would hope that you have, or you can find one person that you can be just brutally honest with, that will not be scared of your fears, that would not be scared of the things that are going on in your mind, and that they can see through them for who they know you to be, to remind you of who you are and what you are capable of. And if you don't have somebody like that, a professional counselor is such a good resource. And there are so many options in Northwest Indiana, and so many with financial assistance. For the first counselor I was seeing postpartum, I never received a bill, which I just kept waiting for it, and it just never happened, and which was just astonishing to me. And so there's just a lot of resources, but truly just one trusted person can make a huge difference. And to just be brave enough, it's very scary, to be honest, sometimes with emotions that you're feeling, but one person can really just tell them one time and just let them prove to you the love that they have for you.
And that there's light, and that the sun will shine again. And like that person told you on the phone, let's just get through tonight.
Yep.
And tomorrow's a new day.
Yep. Push on through has become a very important phrase to me.
Push on through. I love that. Before we end today, is there any other messages that you'd like families to know about, or other moms out there?
Get outside. I always say that it is like a reset button for us, is getting outside. Even when he was little and screaming his head off, and it would be like 20 degrees, I'm like, we're getting outside, and everybody just, the sunshine on your face. I had so many days postpartum when I just didn't know what to do. I was bored out of my mind and just spiraling. We would just go outside, and he'd just lay in the grass and be happy, and I would just look up, and just looking up. But as a mom of little, I spend so much time looking down at things, and just remembering to like look up into the sky is just really good. So get the sunshine on your face. That's my trick.
It's beautiful. Hadassah, thank you so much for being with us, for your honesty, and congratulations. 2 years old. It's as much a celebration for you as it is for your little guy.
Yes, thank you.
Legacy Foundation is Lake County's community foundation. For over 30 years, we've partnered with donors and nonprofits, focusing on youth development, the arts, the environment, health, literacy, and other causes that matter to you. We're committed to Lake County forever. First Things First Porter County is dedicated to supporting families, healthy beginnings, and quality early learning, ensuring every Porter County baby is born prepared for a strong start in life. Learn more at firstthingspc.org.
I have a very strong connection to other students. Everyone makes an effort to help each other. I'll remember the feeling of being here, the feeling that I was a part of a family.
Additional support for Building Blocks is provided generously by Tom Sorlis and Sue Eleuterio, as well as Porter County Community Foundation, serving Porter County since 1996.
Building Blocks, the podcast, is a co-production of Lakeshore Public Media and First Things First Porter County. For more information on Building Blocks, including this podcast, as well as the television show, visit lakeshorepublicmedia.org/buildingblocks.